Here I am. I stand at the door and knock.
Okay, so tell me who you are and about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Marina. In my life, I've experienced living in different countries and having the privilege to understand multiple cultures. But I've also experienced some trauma and a lot of intense emotions growing up. My mom is American Jewish American. My dad is Japanese, and he's a Shinto Buddhist culturally. And growing up in their household, there was a lot of fighting between them, a lot of yelling, like intense screaming, like shouting matches. And I think between my parents having their issues and me moving around to a lot of different schools and different countries, that made me feel like I didn't really have a safe place to be, like I didn't really belong anywhere. So I moved from Tokyo to Shanghai when I was 10. You know, I was living in China and there's no drinking age, so I could go to a convenience store and buy liquor and pretty much anything I wanted, and drink and go to clubs and kind of bask in the attention. It was definitely fun at the time until it continued until I was 18, and by the time I was 18, things had escalated quite a bit. I had so much pain that I didn't know where that pain should go, and I was inflicting it on the only person that I could, on myself, you know. The people, like my friends and family who were watching me go through that self-destruction, their honest, concern and opinions was that they didn't think that I was gonna make it. As the self-destruction got out of hand, I knew that something had to change because I was here in New York alone. My parents were gone in Japan, and I lost all my friends, and I didn't have anything to lose to try to go. So I went to 180 Church. At first, I didn't really understand anything, because I don't have a religious background. Like, I never would have thought in a million years I'd be a Christian. So I was just kind of like, okay, I'm going, And as I went and we talked, I felt free to open up. So the only thing I knew was my experience, and I didn't know anything about Jesus. Maybe like a few pop culture references, and the people in my small group really helped me, because as I talked about what I'd been through, they would relate it to, stories about Jesus. And that helped me understand Jesus. Like all the pain he was feeling and from the persecution, and the way he was able to still love through that and to show compassion, kind of acted as a way, like it inspired me, and it made me love him, love his character and want to be like that. It definitely gave me a new sense of hope, and it showed me that despite whatever you go through, no matter how hard or how grim things may look, that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that like my pain that I was experiencing, that I could somehow overcome it through Jesus. Yeah, it made me feel okay to completely attempt to surrender my entire life to him. Well, like, okay, so the immediate effect was like 30 minutes or like an hour after I accepted Christ, because it was our last day and we were going back. And we stopped to eat something at a diner, and I was like, going to go back to my home environment, which is where I, drink starting in, like, at that time, it was such a bad time. I'd like drink in the morning and like smoke a joint in the morning and then be like, okay, my day's done. So I was like, okay, tomorrow that's what's going to happen, or tonight that's what's going to happen. And I had this sense of like, no, I don't want that to happen. Like, I feel like I just took one step forward, like I've been looking for something to change me, and I wasn't strong enough to do it myself. But then all of a sudden, like through Christ, like Christ moving through other people and other people gaining their strength from Christ, like that was just kind of transferred onto me. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to repeat the same thing. I want to break the cycle of self-destruction. I didn't smoke like that night. I didn't smoke the next night, and I kicked the habit, which I never thought that I would do. So in December, this past Christmas, I went back to Tokyo, where my parents are, and I landed on a Saturday, and my dad like facetiously said like, oh, don't you have to go to church tomorrow? And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I do, and I'd never been to a church in Tokyo because this is it was a new thing for me. It still kind of is. And so I looked one up and I found a church, and I was like, okay, like, Mom, do you want to come? And my mom was like, sure. And since we went together, she's been going. I think, yeah, my parents definitely mentioned that they saw some changes in me. And, I'd like to take credit for why my mom started going. But I think, I think there's something besides just me, I think maybe what I'm trying to say is that God's working through me to help her. But I think God directly is like kind of doing his thing for her. In the past, the way I would face pain is through drugs or alcohol. But just going to God in those moments of pain. And it's not like I can do it every single time, but knowing that he's there makes all the difference.